Hostage, a Bishop/Special Crimes Unit novel by Kay Hooper. Author's note. Once again, at the request of many readers, I have chosen to place this note at the beginning of the book rather than after the story, so as to better inform you of the additional material I am providing for both new readers and those who have been with the series from the beginning. You'll find some brief character bios as well as SCU definitions of various psychic abilities at the end of the book, information that will hopefully enhance your enjoyment of this story and of the series. Hostage. Prologue. Shayna Freeman woke with a throbbing headache and the groggy realization that she must have really tied one on the previous night. Not that she could remember, but that had to be it because she never felt this bad unless alcohol was involved. Stupid, when will you learn to ignore a dare? That was usually how she got in trouble. She just lay there for a while, eyes closed, because she knew from experience that the room would be spinning dizzily if she dared open them. Gradually, though, things started to nag at her. The bed beneath her felt oddly lumpy and damp. The air she breathed had a stale, faintly sour odor. Even through the headache, she was aware that the room felt weirdly hollow somehow, and cold. She didn't feel covers over her. Why not? Little things. Lying there, eyes closed, feeling more and more cold, she kept telling herself nothing was wrong. Again and again she told herself that, because if she believed it, then nothing was wrong. Nothing. Shayna didn't know how long she lay there with her eyes squeezed shut, the mantra of nothing being wrong on a continuous loop in her mind, before she finally forced herself to open her eyes. Dark. But not completely dark. She thought she could make out heavy timbers above her, the sort she imagined would be used to hold up tons of earth to allow a passage into a mountain, for a mine of some kind, maybe. She was in a mine. How on earth? She tried to move her arms to lever herself into a sitting position, and that was when she heard the loud rattle and felt the heavy constriction on her wrists, both wrists. Instinctively, she tried to reach one hand to check the other and discovered it to be impossible. Whatever she was lying on, the chains, the manacles, were fastened from her wrists to either side. She couldn't even push herself up to her elbows because there wasn't enough play in the chains. Couldn't lift either hand high enough to confirm what she felt. Not handcuffs. The bands around her wrists were wide and heavy. The chain sounded thick, old, rusty. She could smell the rust. And when she tried to move her feet, she lay there for some unmeasurable time, staring up at the heavy beams and trying not to think about why someone would have chained her, wrists and ankles, to an old, smelly, lumpy cot in what might have been a mine somewhere in the mountains. Because that was surreal. Something like that didn't happen, not to her, not to anybody she knew, because it was just crazy. She didn't have a rich family, so nobody would consider kidnapping her for ransom. And if she hadn't been kidnapped for ransom, then young women were snatched every day. She saw it on the news. Snatched out of their lives without warning, sometimes never to be seen again, and sometimes seen, found as bodies buried or floating in rivers or just left somewhere like garbage. Bodies showing the evidence of the horrible things that had been done to them, unspeakable things. She could hear herself breathing in shallow little gasps, the only sounds in the cold, dank, hollow space all around her. The chill was seeping into her very bones, a kind of cold she'd never felt before. A terror that took hold of her and squeezed until it forced out a sound, a name she hadn't uttered since she was very, very young. Mommy. His dogs were well trained, well fed, and well housed. In fact, if he was inside the cabin, so were they. He didn't approve of chaining dogs. Besides, they were more likely to be protective of what they perceived as the pack's territory, and he wanted that to be wherever he was. It had cost him valuable time and effort to make the necessary detour to pick up his dogs from the friend who had taken them in when he'd been positive he was going to be arrested. It had also cost him a chunk of money from his stash, but he didn't begrudge that. His friend had clearly taken good care of the dogs, and the money was not only compensation but also a strong incentive not to talk if the police managed to locate him. Not that Jacoby expected them to be able to do that. He had been warned before his capture and in time to make his preparations, and everything since then had gone very much according to plan. After his escape, he had switched cars half a dozen times, and he destroyed GPS units before moving the cars an inch. Still, paying his friend well for the care of the dogs just made good sense. Not a lot in Jacoby's life made good sense. The voices in his head, for instance, the ones telling him to do bad things, that didn't make good sense. It didn't make any sense at all. It never had. You have to go after him. Some of the voices were soft and whispery, and some were distinct, but they almost always spoke in concert, their words identical. No, I don't. He brushed the largest of his 3 dogs, gently removing twigs and dried leaves from her thick coat. He'll go away. They always go away and leave me alone. They caught you before. That was a mistake. I was careless. The target was too big and drew the wrong kind of attention. You made me do that. You had to push your boundaries, Cole. Not that far. There was no reason to go that far, to take that much. It won't happen again, not like that. And I told you, they always leave me alone when I hide in these mountains. Not this one. He's different, you know he is. You felt it. He ran, didn't he? They all run. They all leave me alone once I run them off. Besides, I shot this one, hit him. There was blood. You have to go after him. You have to be sure. I'm sure. He's dead. Then why does your head hurt, Cole? Why did the nightmares wake you up again last night? You! It's your fault. You won't leave me alone. Because the job isn't finished. It was never about the money, Cole. We all know that. It was just the next step. The money was just bait to draw the right kind of attention. I don't want attention. I never want attention. I just want to be left alone. When it's all finished, Cole, you agreed, and now you have to finish what you started. But right now, you have to change the game. You have to hunt the hunters, 'cause they're coming for you. He's just the first. No, they'll leave me alone. Not this time. There's already someone else, someone you need to take care of. It's just him. Nobody else found me. Someone did, Cole. Someone who can hurt you. No, I'm safe here. Safe. I've made sure of that. Nobody is coming to get me. Nobody is taking me back. Do you really believe you can hold them off alone? I can. I will, if they come. But they won't. They won't come after me, because all I did was steal some money, and after a while they just stopped looking for it. His head was pounding, and it was becoming more and more difficult to think straight. Not that his thoughts had been normal for a long time. Not since he was hardly more than a kid. Not since his cellmate all those years ago had slammed his head against the metal corner of his cot. Jacoby wondered if that son of a bitch was dead yet. Concentrate, Cole. There had been so much blood. Surely he was dead. Cole. Leave me alone. Why can't you leave me alone? He felt the dog tense, then tremble, and forced his hands to gentle her. It's okay, girl. It's okay. Just ignore them, all right? Just ignore them. We're not going away, Cole. Not until you keep your promise. Not until you do what you agreed to do. You have to stop him, stop them, and you have to take care of the girl. You have to do what we taught you to do. Don't forget, Cole. Don't forget who we are. He felt the distinctly unpleasant sensation of something cold touching him, like an icy hand stroking his back, up and down, making him shiver. "I remember," he whispered. "Then don't fail us." No, I won't. I promise I won't."